Well, what's up, guys? Welcome back to The Collision. Daniel here. And 30 years after the abomination that was the live-action Super Mario movie, Nintendo's iconic mustache plumber is grabbing a one-up mushroom, finding new life in animated form through Illumination Studio. I've seen it, so let's talk about it. So as a Nintendo kid growing up, I have the emotional scars that I've carried with me ever since the day my dad went to the video rental store and came back with that live-action Mario movie when whatever the world it was trying to do. So this movie, again, the bar was not set super high to just do justice to the video game that just sort of people from all ages have enjoyed over the years. And I will say that this film definitely has all the power-ups, all the makings of being just sort of the next big animated family franchise. In many ways, it is everything that live-action movie was not, which is to say that it was a delight. This movie is great. I was at the beach. I was out of town when this movie dropped, so I'm coming at this review a couple days late. And so already this movie, I can look back and see it's making records. It's setting new box office records for animated movies. So it's definitely resonating with a lot of people. And I think it should, because this is a movie that I greatly enjoy, that has a lot going on to it. So why don't we jump into this? So kind of after this movie starts, kind of after an opening showdown between Bowser and some cute little penguins that have this little war, a scene that's been featured a lot in the trailers. The movie does kind of take a while to get going. Kind of the initial, in some ways, this is like a Super Mario origin story of where he came from. And the opening act for this movie is set in real life kind of Brooklyn, not in the Mushroom Kingdom. And although there is some very clever allusions to the game franchises and kind of Easter eggs and stuff that are kind of fun, the beginning for this is a little awkward. It does take a little while to get going. It's not necessarily bad. It just doesn't really feel like what you expected. I remember just sort of in the theater, just sort of hoping things got on a little better footing, which it definitely does. Kind of once after that opening act, once Mario and Luigi get pulled into the green warp pipe and taken to the Mushroom Kingdom, this film really does find its footing, and kind of from everything from then on out, this movie is just kind of a total joy. It really is kind of first and foremost, I think, just kind of an earnest celebration of all things Super Mario. Because this movie is just completely packed with references and Easter eggs. Whether you're someone like me that can still, may not remember my social security number, but I can tell you absolutely every single hidden coin block and warp pipe in the original Mario game, or else my two 8-year-old twin boys that were watching this with me that really only know Mario from Mario Kart and else Mario Odyssey, sort of the more recent stuff. There is something in this movie for everyone, and I would say a lot of the fun of this movie comes from sort of that nostalgic, sort of being able to recognize just the clever ways that they're including stuff from this sort of long established franchise. 'Cause, they recreate Mario Kart, where the blue spiky shell is treated as appropriately evil. Even just sort of a nod to the original chronological first game with Donkey Kong and Mario Showdown. To just even reconstructions of entire levels from the games cleverly get included in this in sort of some interesting ways, and kind of everything from the visuals, even the music, it definitely banks heavy on that nostalgia. So I don't know if someone's coming at this movie that doesn't have any kind of engagement or emotional connection and experience with the games. I don't necessarily know if this movie will hit in the same way that it did for someone like me that has been playing these games since the original Super Mario movie, although I do think there is enough sort of this bright visuals and kind of fun action and comedy that it could also be sort of a gateway and entry point into the series for kind of a Mario newbie or someone that hasn't necessarily played out through all these video games. And kind of beyond just sort of the fun and the nostalgia and the just the fun of seeing oh, it's Mario Kart, oh, that's from Super Mario 3, or there's Yoshi, and kind of some of that fun. The plot itself is quite thin. It is simple. The characters are all kind of likable, but none of them gets developed or with much depth, which again probably makes sense for based on a game that isn't exactly renowned for having complex plots or deep deep characters. Chris Pratt, I know that a lot of talk before this movie came out centered on him and sort of his voice and didn't sound like the original Mario. He's fine. His character's fine. They kind of explain why he doesn't sound like the game kind of in an early scene, which was enough for me. Because, again, his voice in the games is annoying, and you probably don't want a whole movie of that. But maybe making more of an impression is Anya Taylor-Joy voices the character of Princess Peach, and she gets much more of a kind of a central role in this movie from kind of the original, at least the games, sort of the damsel in distress. She is more front and center, sort of this like capable monarch slash action hero. And again, I know there's probably going to be people that have an issue with that and think that it's this sort of following trends, but for me, I like the new take on Peach. She's essentially the only female character in this entire movie. So it definitely makes sense to have her kind of front and center as part of the action. And kind of her elevated role doesn't come at the expense of Mario. He's also shown as very capable, and sort of the two of them together work real well. And the other standout cast in this is Jack Black voices the character of Bowser, and he is exactly what you would imagine a Koopa Bowser version of Jack Black being. So again, he is fun. He still kind of steals some scenes. So there definitely are kind of areas where you can nitpick with this. Like the animation, I think is fine, but it's definitely not at like the quality that a lot of other recent kind of animated films. It's just sort of passable. Definitely doesn't stand out, although it is interesting and bright and fun. And just sort of, they use like non-Mario music, kind of like rock and roll songs and stuff, which just to me, not just to be like a purist, but it just felt weird in the movie. And like I said, the opening act is kind of slow and awkward. So this isn't by any means a perfect movie, but what I think this movie is a fun movie. And it's kind of, I think, for a lot of the reasons that the game has kind of captivated people despite its simplicity for so many years, is that it is sort of this fun, crazy, quirky world with equally quirky characters and just sort of some of that nostalgia and that sort of escapism, which this movie, unlike that live action movie, definitely sort of captures sort of the heart, I think, of what makes the games work so well. As far as things going on, content to consider, things on the surface of this thing, really not a whole lot. The language, I think a character calls someone stupid, or there's some rude comments, like someone says, refers to Mario that he's a joke and he'll always be a joke, but no profanity or anything like that to be concerned about. Violence, not a whole lot other than, Mario jumping on the heads of Koopa turtles and kicking shells and sort of some of that, which you would expect. Bowser does talk about doing a ritualistic sacrifice, which in the context of the film just means he's going to lower his prisoners into the lava, like Luigi and the other Donkey Kong characters and all that, which, as you would expect, they get rescued. They don't get lowered. So there is no violence. And then there's one unfortunate Koopa, which are the turtle kind of shelled creatures, which makes Bowser mad and gets Bowser's fiery breath and turns into a dry bones, which is a skeleton. So that is quite violent, although this is Mario, so he's the turtle still alive in that sort of different form. But other than that, no other violence in this film. Sexuality, nothing. There is one scene, which is sort of a classic trope. Maybe some people will find more of an issue with, even if I didn't, which is Bowser he's in love with Princess Peach. He wants to marry Princess Peach because he always does, and he's sort of rehearsing his future wedding and trying to practice what he'll say in that moment and kind of his vows and stuff. And the camera kind of turns over, and his Carmack, his kind of wizard henchman, is playing the role of Princess Peach and kind of has the tiara and the makeup and the dress. So again, it's played as sort of a funny thing. And it is sort of a classic gag that's been done for a long time, although in a sense you could also see it as an instance of cross-dressing, even if I didn't take it that way. But so other than that, no kind of sexuality in this film. Maybe the only other thing that I think maybe as parents or as a parent, there could be some question about is there's kind of a recurring gag that is quite darkly, kind of a dark humor, centered around a Luma, which, if you're not familiar with the games, is kind of a cute star-like creature. And this Luma has been in Bowser's prison for who knows how long, a very long time, to the point that it's sort of gone insane and just sort of has this like dark kind of death wisp. It's kind of contrasted with the fact that it's such a cute, sort of upbeat, peppy character who just continually says all these dark things. Like at one point, in the prison, it says comments like, "The only hope is the sweet release of death," and kind of comments like that. And essentially, this character is suicidal. It sort of almost wants to just die, because when Mario does, in that sort of sacrifice scene where Mario saves the characters, the Luma almost seems disappointed that it wasn't lowered into the water, or into the lava. So it is very dark, but it's played for humor, and it is quite funny to have this very bright, cheerful character just sort of crazy, and he's sort of annoying all the other characters by just saying these crazy things. Although it is, I do think the dark nature of that humor is somewhat at odds with the rest of the film, and it is something that maybe some parents won't be quite as enthused about as maybe some older viewers will. As far as themes, kind of things going on beneath the surface of this, again, this isn't a deep movie. This isn't a movie that I think necessarily reflects or explores like deep spiritual themes for Christians to really dig into and process. Although I do think it does have some kind of wholesome themes, just as for kids, like as families, to that can be talking points, or that can be kind of positive things in that way. And one of them, one of the kind of the main themes in this is this sort of perseverance, kind of not giving up, kind of believing in yourself. Mario and Luigi as brothers very much have this like optimism that they're going to accomplish something, and maybe they'll save Brooklyn one day, and just sort of this upbeat kind of, don't quit attitude, even if the characters around them, like their parents and their former employee, and kind of no one else believes in them, but they kind of together keep pushing forward to accomplish something. Kind of a repeated statement that gets made towards Mario several times by different characters is you don't know when to quit. And kind of throughout the film, he initially takes it almost as like an insult, and kind of realizes that that is a positive thing. And what I think makes this the way this film handles that theme even more wholesome for families is that it's not framed in a very individualistic. It's just sort of, you got to believe in yourself and you got to chase your dreams, but it's very much in like the context of community. The relationship between Mario and Luigi in this is great. It's is this sort of loving, supportive, brotherly dynamic. There isn't sort of a bunch of forced angst and tension, and they aren't driven apart, and but they do very much believe in each other and care for each other, and they kind of tell each other, kind of remind each other that we can accomplish anything if we stick together. So it is. I do think that is a very positive theme that sort of, as parents, and maybe if parents with multiple kids and siblings, there is some stuff in there to kind of talk with your kids about. Maybe the other theme that kind of goes throughout this is this sort of commonalities and differences. I think the kind of the inclusion of the Donkey Kong characters in this film kind of sets that theme up of kind of learning to work together, the power of working together, even when you are, there is very obvious kind of differences. And I think the movie does well to sort of celebrate both, to kind of show that the importance of teamwork, while also kind of elevating the beauty that, hey, we are different. And that kind of theme works on like a wider level, like between the Kongs and like the Toads of Mushroom Kingdom. Because at one point Peach kind of says that, hey, as the Toads, we have heart, we kind of have the emotion, and as the Kongs, the Donkey Kongs, they have the brute strength and the might and the army. And kind of by working together, that's what will allow them to sort of take on Bowser. And even kind of more to like a more personal level, Mario and then Donkey Kong kind of start the film very much at odds as like adversaries to each other, and kind of throughout the film learn that, like, although they are quite different and from each other, that they actually have more in common than they realize. Both kind of struggle with the pressure of their fathers and the need to succeed and prove themselves, and kind of some of those despite one kind of being a mustached, Italian premier from Brooklyn, and one being a tie-wearing monkey, that there actually is sort of some shared kind of commonalities. Again, another positive theme that I think Christians can definitely affirm in this. So in the end, I really enjoyed this movie. This movie is going to make this a gazillion yellow coins, illuminations. It's going to be punching those question mark blocks. This movie is going to make a ton of money, and I think it should. I think this is a movie that is wholesome. There isn't like themes or content things for, I think, parents to be worried about, like there has been in a lot of other films. It's definitely not a super deep film, or not a complex film. I could see why maybe some of the critics have given it lower scores than the audience, but I think this is a fun movie, and that's really all you want from a Super Mario movie. This is a fun, colorful movie to go with your family and just not have to worry about what you're seeing. So hey, I'm on board. I'm excited for Super Mario Brothers movie 2 or whatever they go do next with this. But hey, love to hear your thoughts. If you've seen this movie, whether you're a parent taking your kids or you just have played a whole lot of Super Mario in your day and you're excited to see all the references and the Easter eggs, or you're like me and you kind of fall into both those camps, I'd love for you guys to jump in the comment section. Let me know what you think about this movie. Encourage you too, if you haven't done so, subscribe to our channel, become a Collider. I got a lot of movie reviews coming up, especially as we move into kind of closer to the summer and some of these big blockbuster movies, as well as our live stream we do every week and just other videos and stuff. So we'd love to have you be a part of that. But thanks for watching, guys. Stay safe and continue to Collider through World for Christ.